You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason.
Your co-host, Danny.
And fans, we have a special edition of our show. My voice is a little scratchy, and that's because I've been yelling at the screen for our Milwaukee Bucks, who are now NBA world champions. And man, what a feeling this is, man. Danny, this is just something awesome, man. We've been waiting our whole lives for this. We heard the stories when Lou Alcindor, Kareem, and Big O actually won the title back in 71. We heard the stories, but we've never experienced it for ourselves until now, man. This is absolutely outstanding. Fear the deer. Come on, Milwaukee. Stand up. You all are world champions. This is just awesome. And this is behind arguably one of the best performance in NBA Finals history by none other than the Greek freak himself, Giannis Antetokounmpo. 50 points, 14 rebounds, 5 blocks, and I'm super, super excited for my home city. Well, home city's Racine, but you all know what I mean. But for, man, just the fact that Milwaukee has weathered the storm, have gone through 15-win seasons, have gone through just being a small market team and working themselves up. You remember when we drafted Giannis?
Yep.
And we were trying to figure out who Giannis was, right? We were like, who is this? We don't have any footage on him. We've never heard of his name. He's coming to Milwaukee. This is a waste to pick. But to support him because he's a Milwaukee Buck, and then to see him grow into the player that he is, the person that he is, come on, man. What are your thoughts, Danny?
Jason, just want to say congratulations to the city of Milwaukee and all the Bucks fans out there. Long overdue.
Long overdue. Man.
Last night, a lot of those shots that Giannis made, those floaters, and Brooke made a couple, it was just their night. Phoenix put up a great fight. Phoenix put up a great series, and Phoenix has to be kicking themselves because they let 3 of these games get away from them. So great season to the Phoenix Suns. Congratulations to them. I know this is not the result they wanted based on what happened, but the Bucks, man, Giannis scored 50 of them, 105, like you said. Brooke was big in the third quarter on that comeback. Got them some energy. Bobby Portis.
Come on now.
If he doesn't have that game last night, it's going to game 7.
Yep.
He hit some big shots, played some great defense. Drew Holiday again, great defense. The reason they brought him here, the moment wasn't too big. He wasn't shooting well, but he made up for it from the assist perspective, the defensive perspective. So Coach Bud, I'm curious now. We'll get into this in later shows on what happens with Coach Bud. Because I was sitting there thinking last night as they're celebrating and, you know, all the stuff Coach Bud has been through, all the ridicule and all that, you know, just what happened last year with Miami getting swept, being an inch away from losing against Brooklyn on that KD 3. just the steps up to this. Now he gets to celebrate. And this was the reason they brought him here, right?
Mm-hmm.
They
Yep.
needed a coach like him. The Deer District was off the hook.
Oh man, it was lit, man.
The arena for those we knew who were there, it was crazy loud. But through the TV, especially when they made that comeback and then ended up taking that lead, and then at the end finishing it off. But congratulations to just the two teams in general for putting on a great show.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And we talked about this, I believe, in the last show. I may have mentioned it. These games are going to be tight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they did not disappoint. And luckily, the Bucks were on the better end of that result. So Phoenix has some moves to make in the offseason. Obviously, Giannis exposed that. I think Sarge really hurt them by that torn ACL because they had no one. Ayton couldn't do anything with Giannis. He couldn't move quick enough. So just think Giannis has room to improve.
Yes.
So for him to put that performance on in the biggest game of his career, biggest game since 71, sky's the limit, man. And if they can keep this team together, I know Bobby Portis has a player option. You have your nucleus, you have your people signed. Enjoy the parade, and we'll talk off season in a couple weeks. But congratulations, man.
Congratulations, Milwaukee. And listen, Danny, you said this at the very beginning of the playoffs. It's going to come down to free throws, man. And Giannis, come on, man. 17 for 19 from the free throw line.
Yep.
Come on, man. He was going for it, man. Just the effort alone was just really inspiring. Just the effort alone. I think that at the very beginning of the game, it was a lot of nervous energy. And I think the nervous energy wore down both teams, quite honestly. Yep. There were so many breaks, so many air balls that I saw in the first quarter. I was like, oh, my gosh, this is going to be a terrible game. It turned out to be one of those grind them out games. I think the refereeing was quite interesting, to say the least. But I would say this, Danny. 17 from 19 from the free throw line by Giannis. He was locked in. Yep. 50 points, as we mentioned before. 16 points by Bobby Portis off the bench, and nobody else from the bench scored. To your point, that was very much an advantage and is very huge there. I think when you think about this series, I think this series could have been a gentleman's sweep. When you think about games 1 and 2 in Phoenix, I realize now Giannis scored like in the second game. Well, the first game he had 20 points, 17 rebounds on one leg. Yep. Second game he had about 42. I'm just saying. I mean, if Coach Bud would have made adjustments a little sooner, maybe we could have got this in 5 games. But nonetheless, I think this really shows a lot about it shows the coaching by Coach Bud. And to your point, we'll get into it later on in a different podcast, man. I think by getting this championship, it's going to give Coach Bud another year or two. I think it's going to buy him that contract. I really do. And I have to say something to the media folks. This storyline about CP3, Chris Paul, about him being injured, that something is wrong with Chris Paul. There was nothing wrong with Chris Paul in games 1 or 2. Yeah. It was something wrong with him come game 3 and 4. In game 6, he showed up. He was actually in game 6. He actually had a decent game. When you think about the Phoenix Suns, he actually led the Phoenix Suns in scoring with 26 points on 11 for 19 from the field. And so I want y'all to stop it. That something was wrong with Chris Paul throughout this series in games 3, 4, and 5. That's bogus. Because there's nothing wrong with him in games 1 and 2. Nothing wrong with him in game 6. But there's something wrong with him in 3, 4, and 5. Man, get out of here with that, man. And I really hated that storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Or the storyline was good. Don't get me wrong. I put it like this: the storyline of him winning a championship after being in the league for 16 years, that's a good storyline. Yes, people have that sentimental value of someone who's worked that long to get rewarded. I get that. I respect that storyline, but the aspect of him now being hurt in the middle of the series when they were losing, but at the end when they lost, when he had 26 points, and at the very beginning of the series when they were winning, there was no talks about him being injured. Man, get out of here with that, media. And the thought of Giannis not being a true number one, a true quote unquote Batman. Let me just say this, man. If Giannis didn't prove that he was number one in the closeout game when he scored 50 points, I don't know what other proof you need. I really don't. Without Giannis, the Milwaukee Bucks wouldn't be in this position at all.
No.
Giannis consistently gives you 30 and 13 on a nightly basis. He just so happened just to go ahead and give you 50
yeah.
To wrap this up. So, yeah, media, I need to stop this about Giannis not being a true number one or being a Batman, whatever the case may be. Why not just have a good team in where the teammates complement each other for the goal of becoming champions? I think that's the missing piece. And I think the narrative for so long in the NBA has been create super teams, go ahead and have your 2 or 3 great players on a team, and go ahead and go from there. I think what this championship has proved is that you can stay in a small market.
Yep.
You can be recognized globally, and you can get some decent TV ratings as well. And you'll be okay. You don't have to go to Los Angeles. You don't have to go to Philadelphia or New York or Dallas or other big market teams. You can honestly get drafted in a small market team and do very well and still get marketed, and you'll be okay. This is what, in my opinion, this championship proves. And oh, by the way, I think this ring that the Milwaukee Bucks now will be receiving, Danny, I think this ring is more significant than some of these rings where power teams and super teams have really joined forces and gotten the championship.
I think Milwaukee will have their day in the sun tomorrow with the parade.
There you go. There you go.
At 11 a.m. and let them enjoy it. And then we'll see what happens next year with this team. With, like I said, most of them coming back. We do have the Olympics coming. So that's one fear of mine with this team, in particular with Middleton and Drew Holiday, and going deep into the playoffs like they did, how they respond next year and how their bodies respond, legs and everything. Because, usually with the Olympics, they don't get that time off, and especially with the season running through end of July almost. It's usually done by mid-June. So curious how that plays out. So that's where bench depth will definitely have to be something to look for in the offseason. I think one other key moment to call out on this Giannis, from the Giannis perspective, was if you watched him in the beginning of the third quarter, he took over that game and willed that team, because that's when he hit the three-pointer, hit those jumpers. He was doing everything, and you could see him yelling at him like, come on, man. Let's go. We got this. And then finally they started going, because Middleton and Drew, from an offensive perspective, didn't have it going. It was Bobby Portis and Giannis, and then Brooke.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to step up and not let that and will that team to that victory, because if he wouldn't have did that at the beginning of the third quarter, I thought that game was over, honestly, because they start falling flat.
Exactly.
So congratulations again, man. Well deserved. And this cements Giannis's legacy, if nothing else, in his future. 2 MVPs, a finals MVP, and bringing a championship to Milwaukee. It's not much more you can ask now of him.
So true. So true. And let me just say this on the Phoenix Suns side. I would say that what you'll start seeing, honestly, from a lot of young people playing basketball is the return of the mid-range game.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about CP3, Devin Booker, Chris Middleton, obviously on the Bucks side, when you talk about those players in their mid-range game, you're going to start really seeing that, honestly, in probably AAU and other, young type leagues. So that's going to be very interesting to see how this really bleeds into the NBA and even to college as well. But I have to say this, man. Devin Booker is the truth, man. Phoenix Suns are going to have to put some pieces around Devin Booker. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that Coach Monty Williams did not do was play really play Johnson as much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think had he gotten more minutes, I think they would have provided a little bit more of a scoring punch there. So either way, man, like you said, congratulations, Milwaukee. Congratulations, Bucks fans. Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.